everybody. Welcome to our Council Room 2024 panel on Doctor Who on Blu-ray, classic Doctor Who on Blu-ray, which we'll see if this is actually classic Who or not, but we're going to talk about it either way. So yeah, thanks for joining. My name is Jeff. I have been a Doctor Who fan for many, many years, 35, 36 years, something like that. So long that I don't actually remember what I watched first all those years ago on Iowa public television. And I have been collecting Doctor Who on Blu-ray since it started coming out, I think. I got it on VHS, I got it on DVD. I'm getting it on Blu-ray. I've got the couple 4K releases, so I don't see any signs of me not collecting it on physical media. So maybe in a few years we'll be talking about it on, I don't know, 8K or something like that. But
what are the 4K releases?
Yeah, there's let's see, there's just the one, the Twice Upon a Time single release that came out on 4K.
Wow.
That might be the only one now that I think about it.
Haven't they released some of Joni's stuff on 4K too, or
no, none of it's been released on 4K. They're shot with nicer cameras, but I think the cameras might still be 2K. I'm not sure. But yeah,
see how fast we got off the topic.
No, it is still on topic. It's Doctor Who on high definition disc.
Yeah.
So it's not quite the remit of classic Doctor Who.
I think we should talk about like everything.
I'm game.
Let's just talk about everything, and if we go off topic, we go off topic.
Yeah, that's how panels work.
I want to talk about this.
Oh, okay.
It's so the Boris Karloff.
That's
Blu-ray.
Too far, because now that's DVD. That's really old. Like now we're
Blu-ray.
Is it Blu-ray?
Blu-ray. See, it's blue.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a DVD. So my bad. So at least it's HD. So that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get to talking about all kinds of Doctor Who on Blu-ray disc, but we'll finish introducing everybody first. So Bill, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yes, I do. My name is Bill, and I like Doctor Who. It's a good show. I started watching it in the 80s, and stopped watching it. I guess I did.
You did stop watching it for a while.
I stopped watching it in the 90s, basically, and then started watching it again in the 2000s. That's basically right.
Yeah.
And
let me ask you something. Did running into Jason on a bus inspire you to watch more Doctor Who?
No, when I ran into Jason on that bus, the famous story of me running into Jason on a bus, I had a Doctor Who DVD with me, so I was already back in.
That's true. Yeah,
Doctor Who.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's a really good one. Not on Blu-ray though.
And I have this many Blu-rays. I didn't think to get the right version of this one, and now it's $875 million if you want one. And I'm saving up. I'm saving up.
That's true.
I don't think I have the TV movie on Blu-ray, which I must have it somewhere.
Probably.
Anyway, so that's my story.
Wonderful.
Ben or Rob, somebody else talk now.
My name is Ben. I have been a Doctor Who fan since 1996. My very first story I watched was The Five Doctors on VHS, and I've been collecting Blu-ray for about a year and a half. My primary focus for Doctor Who is just the Blu-rays for now. So.
Okay. Wonderful. And then Rob, you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Rob Levy. I have been a Doctor Who fan since probably 1984, and it's never really left. It's that itch you can't scratch, and the Blu-rays are yet further proof of this, that we will buy this over and over again.
That is true. Yes, before you came on, that's what I was saying. I bought it on VHS. I bought it on DVD. I'm buying it on Blu-ray. Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, I buy lots of physical media on Blu-ray and 4K. So Doctor Who just being my particular obsession. So I buy a lot of that one as well. So Bill, you've kind of got everything. Well, I say everything. All those classic releases behind you, and that's ostensibly the remit of this panel is classic Doctor Who on Blu-ray. So I mean, we might as well start there as much as anything else. So what are maybe just some, and we'll start with you, Bill, just because you've got them all out. But what are your thoughts on sort of the collection releases that we've seen thus far, which is what, 13 of them or 14 of them? Counting them, yep.
I think it's 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yep. Sounds right to me. So more
Yeah.
we're over
And
the
what
half.
was the question?
What do you think of them? Like thoughts on, they've been releasing these since what, 2018?
I have thoughts. I thought this would never happen because Steve Roberts said that nobody buys television shows on Blu-ray in the UK, and that may be true. But it was one of the reasons why I thought this would never happen. Also, it could never possibly look good. That was the other thing we'd always heard was why I put it out on Blu-ray, it looks like shit. This show was primarily filmed on video.
Yep.
A lot of it was filmed on film. And one of the very earliest releases, this one that I still talking about, is if you look in the book Wiped, if you look at each story, they have all the film for I think every story in this whole season. So like they put this one out second. I was like, well, that's going to be the best looking one of all because the rest are going to look like crap because they're shot on video. And I'm thrilled to reveal that I'm wrong. I think they all look great.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben, were you going to say something?
No, I was just shocked by Bill. So, excuse me, Bill's wrong.
Yeah. The hell you say?
The hell are you saying? I really enjoy the Blu-ray releases for a few reasons. The first being, if you want archive material, really in-depth archive material of one particular doctor, you have it on the Blu-ray. This isn't like, where in the past when we had the DVDs, like if you wanted to see a new special feature about the three doctors, you'd have to buy the three doctors special edition. So to have all that material throughout the discs, I think is really great. And I just think, it's gone for me. I don't collect the British discs like you and Bill do. I collect the American one.
Yeah.
But they're not a bad price these days.
No. Oh no, you can get them on sale. I just saw some of them on sale with, we're recording this December 12th. So really in the holiday season. And just the other day I saw season 22, Colin Baker, on sale for, I think it was $19.99 on Amazon.
Yeah.
So you can definitely get them cheap.
$19.99. But it's really fun, and it's really fun, like, and I suppose this depends on the TV you have too, like
Sure.
to see the differences like in effects too.
Yeah.
But what I think is great about it is, like, remember when the VHSs were coming out and we would only get a certain VHS, we get 1 second Doctor story, 1/3 Doctor story. But now we get everything. We don't have to wait like a year and a half to get something else.
Yeah, season sets are great. And I think to what you were saying earlier, Bill, about people, what some people were saying is that people wouldn't really buy TV shows on Blu-ray, but obviously some of those people don't know Doctor Who fans, because we will buy it on Blu-ray, and if it comes out on 4K, we'll probably buy it there too. And yeah, having season sets is awesome because instead of, to your point, Ben, like you get one story at a time. Of course, in the North American market, we got The Key to Time as a full season DVD set before the UK did. But to have these packages of a whole season all at once on Blu-ray, as high definition as that can be, with all the legacy extras, well, almost all the legacy extras, lots of new extras, hours and hours and hours of behind the scenes footage and all that kind of and the value, even if you pay full price for it, which for a UK set, $60-ish, but that same set in the US on sale, like I was saying, maybe $20 when it's really on sale. Like, it's incredible.
Because the season 20 pre-order is $60 on Amazon.
Right, but it'll absolutely drop, I'm sure, during the pre-order process, and for sure it'll go on sale probably not too long after it actually comes out. So definitely very good value for money. Rob, what are your thoughts? How long have you been into the Blu-ray sets for Classic Who from the beginning? Are you newer to them? Like, what's your thoughts on them?
Old man has to unmute. I've been hooked on the Blu-rays for a couple of, the biggest reason, which I don't think any of you have touched upon, is that, oh my God, the space it creates, right? Because I still collect physical media of films I like and things. I just think it's important. And there's things that aren't going to stream. And as we've seen with Doctor Who bouncing around, I don't want to rely on it to go find it on a streaming place.
Sure.
So I've been super excited. I am kind of in the camp of like, there are obviously things everybody wants,
Sure.
but any season we get, I'm thrilled with.
Yep.
Because there are seasons that we may not be like super excited about, but it's worth getting it for the extras. Man, the extras are just great. The behind the couches are great. The new commentaries are great. I think you alluded to this too, that not all of the extras are transferring over.
Sure.
But so far, I haven't really felt really shortchanged or upset about what they haven't put on.
Yeah.
If it's something I'm really married to, I'll still keep my original episode one.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm very excited about it. I only collect the American ones right now, just
Yep.
mainly for space. I
Yeah.
would space and money. I would love to have the British ones, but
Yeah.
I just love the fact that they're taking such great care with this, because we've kind of reached this point where everyone's realizing that people want TV shows and some physical media. So stuff is just getting rushed and put out, right? And this is being done with extreme care and love and a certain reverence for archival material that is great. And to me, it's almost validating in a way, right? It's like, okay, I'm not a moron for buying all these VHS tapes. This is something people do want to see, right? So I'm excited. I was really, really impressed with how the Hartnell DVDs came out. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was sure they were going to look great, but I didn't think they'd look that great.
Yeah.
But and that's worth it just for the William Russell interview alone. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So they're really taking the time, and I'm generally pretty happy with it. The sound on it is great.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I am happy about is that in most of the cases, when they're putting an episode on and redoing the effects, they at least give you the original two.
Absolutely.
Because I still want the original with the shoddy effects,
Yeah.
not necessarily the one with the original.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think, to your point, like I think people would really struggle to come up with, a legacy or cult or old, however, whatever word you want to use, show being treated, so, reverently on home media. The fact that we had it on VHS and DVD with extras, and that there was, even to the VHS days, there was restoration work being done, whether it was recovering color signals or whatever, and that just continues with Blu-ray releases. And yes, of course, you're limited by the source material, especially the earliest Hartnell and Troughton stuff, where it was was a 405 line, so it was even lower resolution than it became later on in the kind of mid Troughton run and beyond. And of course, the original tapes are long since gone, so we have film recordings of them for the most part, of those black and white stories. So yeah, I think we were all wondering when season 2, or what's the William Hartnell season 2, as they call it in the North American market, came out about a year ago. Certainly I was wondering, like, what's this going to look like, and is it going to be on a big, the media room I'm in right now, we have a 65-inch TV in here, and you think, oof, is this going to look good on a TV this size? And there's TVs that are plenty bigger than this one, but they really do look good. And the extras really are second to none, because that's just not even kind of the norm with a lot of even mainstream releases of new films. Like, they'll get a few extras that are a little bit more cursory, but like I've just been finishing up the season 20 UK set, which hasn't come out in the North American market yet, but came out in the UK I think a couple of months ago. And the Look Who's Driving feature on there, which is a road trip with Peter Davison, Sarah Sutton, and Janet Fielding, driving from the UK to a German Doctor Who convention, is an hour of just pure delight. Like, the way they laugh, the way they can't drive well. Sarah Sutton saying because they're in a left-hand drive car like we have here, because they're in mainland Europe. And Sarah Sutton saying, like, I don't think I've ever driven a left-hand drive car, but they had to rotate, driving responsibilities. And poor, Janet Fielding, who's very short, sort of barely seeing over the steering wheel of this large SUV. Like, just so, I mean, it sounds on the surface probably stupid, like you just stick some GoPros in a car and these 3 TV stars from 40 years ago have a conversation over a few days, but it's just delightful. And you mentioned the behind the sofas, Rob. I think those are great. It's just like the treatment of the show on Blu-ray is far more. And I think maybe you were saying this, Ben, but like the way it's treated, like it's not just sort of slapped onto,
Yeah.
disc and passed along. It's like we've
'Cause
done
it
all
like
this.
seems like on a modern film release, we get like a 3-second press kit thing,
Mhm.
maybe a trailer.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
But with Doctor Who, we get everything. Like
Yep.
season 12, we had the Tom Baker years. That's on the 12 Blu-ray, right?
Ooh, you would ask that. It's on one of the Tom Baker releases.
Yeah, it's on one of them.
It might be 18.
What the hell's 18?
There it is. I see it.
I don't know. I'd have to know how to read the back.
But
of
I know
this.
on, like I believe on Trial or Collins' first season that has the Colin Baker years on it, and it's really just nice to have the and like they put some audios like for Terror of the Autons. They have the audiobook as a special feature.
Yeah.
I think that's great that just we having these things that we may not have gotten before.
Yeah. I mean, there's some audiobooks, not all of them obviously, but some.
No.
There's archival radio interviews, there's archival convention footage. Like I said, there's hours and hours and hours in some cases of behind the scenes, studio recording and things like that, like film trims, model work, just endless amounts of stuff. You can watch each episode, each story multiple times. You can watch it with the production text, without it. You can watch it with a variety of audio commentaries, without it. Like truly, like we're spoiled for choice when it comes to.
That makes it so perfect. I think one of the best parts of certain DVDs are the Toby Haydock documentaries, though.
Sure.
Because he
I was
really
just
gets
noticing Weekend with Waterhouse is on.
Yeah.
this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Was on season 18. Yeah. Just like, and Living with Levine, which another Toby Haydock hosted document. Well, I don't know if you can call it a documentary, but experience that we can watch on disc, and it's really fun to see.
With Toby, it's like he's a fan, we're fans, we're
Totally.
watching through his eyes.
Yeah. Well, and that's another example of, I think, the care that the show is treated with on Blu-ray, because you've got the people who are making these documentaries and hosting these documentaries, behind the scenes features. They're fans. Like they like the show, they watch the show, they grew up on the show in most, if not all, cases. So it's really cool to just see how they continue to bring the show with each new release, which we're in a space right now where I think you said earlier, Ben, the season 20 release hasn't hit North America yet. It will in a few months. But beyond that, there isn't currently another one for release scheduled in the UK. I mean, it will be announced, I'm sure, sometime in the near future, maybe even by the time you're watching this this panel back. But in the meantime, there's certainly other releases. There's the 60th anniversary specials coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. I think next week.
The colorized Daleks is going to come out.
Coming out in February. I don't know if there's anything for January yet, but there probably will be. So yeah, I mean, we really are. I have no doubt that they will continue on these releases. And to what we were saying earlier about missing special features, I would say every confidence that those will all show up, as they sort of shuffle features around to put them on a more relevant set versus, in some cases they just came out with whatever DVD was coming out at the time, maybe because it was the end of the range and they needed to, get this feature out, or maybe something was discovered, late in the game. And so they just stuck it on a different release. So with these season sets, they truly have the opportunity to say, okay, what's relevant to season 20 or season 12?
That seems really relevant too, Jeff, because I read this website I like to follow called the Millennium Effect.
Oh yeah.
They break down what might be.
Yep.
And what is going to be. So that makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's a really good website just if you're interested in for a resource for what's on disc and comparing Blu-rays as far as what feature was where. Millennium Effect is a really good resource. So if you haven't looked at that before, I highly recommend it. So what else? What are other thoughts on Doctor Who on Blu-ray? We've got the collection sets. We do have, I think I flashed one of them earlier, but we have like animated releases. So this is the animated Galaxy 4 on Blu-ray, also available on DVD. So we're getting new regenerated versions, if you will, of stories. So what are any thoughts folks have on those? Maybe we'll just start with the animations, just because those are kind of hot right now, because they're kind of back being released again, and the Celestial Toymaker animation was just announced last week.
Yes. Excuse me. I like the animations. I think some of them are hit or miss.
Sure.
But so far, I've enjoyed watching them. You know, the only one I just didn't like was Web of Fear episode 3.
And Celestial Toymaker's animation style is definitely in the vein of
It's,
Web of-
yes, that's one of the things. But I think it's just really great we can have these stories that eventually at some point down the road we'll get a full box set of a season 4 or a season 5 must be pretty close. Just Highlanders, I think, is the only thing left.
Yeah, there's not a lot left for a few seasons at this point, actually.
No,
because-
season 4, excuse me.
Highlanders is 4, yeah.
Yeah, I just realized that.
I'm the only person I know that really just doesn't like watching the animations. So for me,
Well, I understand.
definitely-
I have issues with some of them.
yeah, like I watch Doctor Who because I want to watch partly because I want to watch a show that was made at that time and looks
Sure.
like it was made at that time. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just sort of gives
Yeah,
me
no.
a sense of where we
Yeah.
were at historically, and the animations completely throw all that off for me.
Sure.
I mean, I appreciate what they're doing. Like Macroterra, I was fine with, right? What really bugged me is when they did Power of the Daleks and they put like the Weeping Angel in it and those little things. It's
Yeah.
like
The Easter
that.
egg.
Yeah, and there's one where there's the Easter egg. I think it's the Delgado Masters hanging on the wall, or some kind of poster or something.
Mhm.
Faceless One.
Faceless
That's-
One, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, guys, no, that kind of bugs me. I know I'm being
Mhm.
pedantic, but that kind of bugs me because I want it to be of the time, right?
Sure.
I understand the animation may not be of the time,
Yeah.
which is why like I'll try to watch. This is silly, but I will watch those in black and white mostly.
Sure. Yeah.
I prefer to watch them.
Although
Yeah.
Galaxy 4 looks,
Oh.
fine in color, but
Agreed. So good.
but I want it to look as close as possible to that, right? This
It's
this
like
is
the oh, I'm sorry.
no,
I was just gonna back you up and say the only one that I thought did a good job with that was 10th Planet. I thought
Yeah.
the style they
Yeah.
used evoked that era.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing too, and this is kind of dumb, but I grew up with these episodes being lost and missing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So to me, having read the Target books, I had the theater of the mind of what these episodes looked like,
Mhm.
right? And what they sounded like. And then we have the audios of them, and then you still get that to a certain extent.
Mhm.
And that is a beautiful, amazing thing because you can sort of visualize it and picture it in your mind. But now someone else has taken that and sort of visualized it on their own terms. And that's
Mhm.
kind of it sounds really dumb, but that's kind of sad, really, when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Although,
It's
having said that,
interpretation.
Enemy of the World fooled us all because how great it was.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I fully admit that this is a completely stupid way to look at it, but in
Not
many
stupid at all.
ways, that's kind of how I feel about them.
Yeah, it's not stupid at all. And to what you said earlier, if you're going to be pedantic somewhere, I think on a Zoom recorded panel for a Doctor Who convention, this is probably the place to be pedantic. So don't feel
I know.
in the slightest.
Brian, sorry, go ahead.
But having said that, I'm thrilled they're out. Right? I would
Absolutely.
rather have the choice of whether I can watch them or not and have them be out rather than not have the choice. And maybe like I really am horrified by the Celestial Toymaker like visuals,
Mm.
right? But hey, somebody wants to buy that and makes them happy, knock themselves out,
Right.
right?
I have the steelbook on pre-order because I am that person. So
I'm gonna be that person too. God, I hate that animation.
yeah, and it's interesting, because obviously we've only seen 60 seconds or less of it, so it'll be interesting to see how it all comes together when we can see the finished product. And I think I'm certain there's going to be an animation panel at Console Room. Are we on it, Bill? I can't remember.
Recording,
You think I would sign up for that?
I don't know. But either way, I'm sure we'll.
it's gonna
I'll be
like
the one guy
Jeff Bezos
souring
book
on everybody. Nah, they looks like crap. What are you guys talking about?
Well, that Reign of Terror transformation didn't go well. So
Well, and that's Reign of Terror was early on, and the problem with Reign of
Yeah.
Terror was more in its it's really sort of like cut. I think seemingly to cover up maybe not having enough actual moving animation, so they did lots of sort of what felt like choppy cuts to sort of still make it feel I think dynamic. But I think what's really great about these again thinking of the sort of the physical release of these is it's not just the animation, it's the animation in color, it's the animation in black and white. It's a fresh usually a fresh new reconstruction with linking narration. It's like listening to the audio and seeing as much that exists of the story as you can. So getting to what your point was, Bill, earlier about wanting to see the story that was made in the 60s, which you kind of lose that feel with the animation because it feels new, because it is, even though it's made with the original soundtrack. But the reconstructions, which aren't for me, I really have, even way back in the day when I was tape trading, like reconstructions were really hard for me because it's just the lack of moving image is difficult. But some people love them and really dislike the animations because of the style, or because it feels too different, or because it's in color or whatever. But again, we're spoiled for choice, just like with the collection releases. We have, you know, animation in color, animation in black and white, reconstruction. There's usually at least a few, well, there's always, I think, at least a few extras of, you know, a making of the story, or a making of the animation, or both, or you know, things like that. So we're still spoiled for choice when it comes to you know, animation. And when I have my Shada steelbook here, and this is a good example of how, you know, this was animated on its own and released on its own, but then also came out on the box set that I think I see right there by you, Bill, the collection set, with not new, well, a little bit of new animation, but rejiggered animation, you know, recut instead of one long story as it was on its Blu-ray release. The 6 episodes. Yeah, it's in 6 episodes, with a little bit of tweaks to the animation. Can I read that? I don't think I can.
I thought maybe you'd be able to make out the word Shada right about here.
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
I think, yes, I do see that.
It's
So,
got Shada.
but a good example of how, even though Shada was animated and got its own Blu-ray release, it was still included on its relevant collection set, and even had some tweaks done there. So again, we continue to be spoiled with the content they're giving us on these discs.
And the original Shada thing, I think some of the extras are actually different that aren't on the set, from what I think that was
yeah,
one
so
of
like this individual release has the Eighth Doctor version of
them again.
I mean, Shada, that's not on the season 17 collection set, which that's another one of those things that I feel pretty confident will show up on a set, you know, if there's actually going to be a Wilderness Years set, something between, you know,
Most likely to show up.
yeah, right. I think that's where that stuff's going to show up, and of course there's no kind of official confirmation of that, but I say that seems like a pretty safe bet at this point. But you know, we've still got a few years to go, I'm sure, before they release it all anyway.
Well, they're due for a remaster of the TV show, of the TV movie anyway.
Oh well, that's a whole nother can of worms. So yeah, the TV movies, if you want to talk about maybe I don't know, I hate the drawback, but you know, it's not a great release because they didn't have access to you know, the original film elements or anything like that. So for that to really have a good Blu-ray release, they need to find the elements, and no one's sure if they exist. And the effects would probably have to be redone because they weren't finished in, you know, on film anyway.
Yeah.
So it would really be kind of a ground up restoration. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
Who knows if it will?
Maybe an extended version might be nice.
That'd be cool.
They found the footage. You'd hope they'd find more stuff.
Yeah, I think
most people, when they watch the TV movie, they thought, I wish that was longer.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I love the TV movie.
I
wish it was longer.
I think if material exists, I have no doubt that it will find its way to Blu-ray, because if it exists and
really,
then the team that puts these together do it.
But you know, the issue with that one's under different control than anything. Well,
the rights are very different.
Apparently, there are people who are holding actual missing episodes. But other than them,
yes. But that said,
a company that's storing all this material that doesn't care about it. So I worry that we're never going to see it.
You mean like Universal, because of how the rights
wasn't it Universal?
Yeah, that's very possible. No one knows for sure. Of course, Universal had a big damaging fire in 2008. But no one knows for sure because no one's probably looked, at least not that we know of. So I have no doubt that whatever can be done to produce the best possible release of it on Blu-ray when the time comes will happen, because certainly what we have on Blu-ray now is not the best that we could have. Even if they didn't have access to the original elements, it's still not the best version it could be, with, you know, there's speed up involved in terms of the master that was used, and it's just not great. So I look forward to that one getting some better treatment. But
I would just add that if they don't put out the best, highest quality release, you'll still buy it. And then a year later, when they say they found the film elements, you'll buy it again.
Yep.
Just like that Tomb of the Cybermen cassette. Was it Tom that did a voiceover or whatever?
I never had that.
By the time it came out, it had been found.
Yep, that's the way it goes. Because again, we've bought these, at least I have bought these on VHS. Well, recorded that some of them from off air, then bought them on VHS, then bought them on DVD. Now buying them on Blu-ray. So yeah, you're right. Like I didn't pull my my Spearhead from Space steelbook out, but that, you know, I mean, had 2 or 3 VHS releases, 2
Yeah.
or 3 DVD releases.
Yep.
It had a steelbook Blu-ray release, I think a regular Blu-ray release. It's going to come out on the collection. So yeah,
They didn't do 7 yet.
oh no, they haven't done that yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's one. Well, I mean, of course, that one seemed like an obvious first choice because it was all done on film. I assume a lot of people know that, but it
That's
made
kind
an
of
obvious
that's
first
my
choice.
dream
for
box
Blu-ray.
set. If that was to come out next, I'd be a very happy person.
Season 7, yeah, it's a big
yeah.
favorite of a lot of people. I would love to see a season 7, but I'm also with Rob. I'll buy whatever it is.
Yeah.
It isn't a big deal. There
Yeah.
are some seasons I don't like, and I bought those too. Let's just put
Right.
it that way.
Yeah, and that's, you know what, that's our prerogative of fans. As fans, like if we all have our favorite seasons. I'm sure for some people those have already come out. For some they're yet to come out. For some maybe they really only love 1 or 2 and they're just going to buy those 2, and that's cool. Like that's great. Yeah, Rob.
I also think this. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No,
No,
I'll
no,
just
no,
say
go
it
ahead.
because I thought of it, and you
Go.
don't want me to have to.
No, go ahead.
I don't know that the show is particularly well suited to season releases, so I think it's fun that they're doing season releases,
Yeah.
and I like it, and that's how I prefer my box sets generally. But Doctor
Yeah.
Who doesn't even need a season release, so it's kind of funny that we get these gigantic box sets.
You mean because it doesn't have the kind of like the
Yeah,
modern
there's
show has
very
different arcs?
Arcs, yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
That
Yeah.
was that was actually one of the things I was going to say. But the
Yeah.
other thing I was going to say too is that, you know, yes, we keep buying these things in different iterations, right? But I think part of the reason that we do is that, at least most cases, I don't feel like they're just slapping a name on it and trying to take advantage of my money. I feel like
No.
this goes back to the curation that we
Sure.
talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So I at least feel like I'm getting something, you know, valuable, right?
Yeah.
And actually getting the Blu-rays has allowed me to pass on, you know, if I have the regular DVDs that I don't need anymore, pass those on to other fans I know, and maybe
Absolutely.
use some other you know, spread
Yeah.
pay it forward, as they say. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that, you know, the idea of like a full kind of season and they're kind of clunky is one of the issues with the Blu-ray, but I'd
Sure.
rather have just everything at once. The trade-off is you get all of the extras
Yep.
that fit the seasons,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the seasons may be kind of clunky, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I also kind of like being able to just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to pretend it's 1973 and watch all these
Mm-hmm.
in order, you know, without
Well, and
having
now that I've said that, and you agree with me, now I have to argue. But
and then I'll
the
argue
one
with what you're
thing,
arguing.
there you go, perfect. The one thing I would say that does sort of tie together a season is you generally do have one production team from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I think on every release, I don't know, back in the Hartnell and Troughton eras,
Yeah.
those production teams would be
They
around
changed
for about
pretty
3
pretty-
episodes.
And
but-
they do a great job of getting people to do interviews and stuff to where they
Yep.
tie that all together too, which is great.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, there was I mean, you mentioned the William Russell interview on the season 2 box set, Rob, and then you know, I think all of those in conversations are obviously fabulous. I mean, having the William Russell interview, the Maureen O'Brien interview, like the
Oh yeah,
Tom Baker.
the top, they're all so, you know, well done. And the things that get you know, pulled out that aren't, you know, it's not just about Doctor Who, it really is about them and their lives and their careers. And when you have, you know, the William Russells and the, you know, Maureen O'Briens, you know, you can really dig deep on these really long and kind of storied careers that don't even always, you know, like with Maureen O'Brien, I mean, she transitioned from being an actress to being a writer, and you know, talking about her experience doing that, or her experience doing theater, or, you know, William Russell working with you know, Jackie Hill, who's been, you know, sadly dead for 30 years. You know, we have this opportunity to capture these moments and memories and stories with these people who you know, in some cases are, you know, certainly not spring chickens, and so it's great to have this sort of captured forevermore.
And that's what's nice about the commentaries, I think, too, because you have commentaries like with Terrence Dicks and Barry Letts.
Yeah.
They're no longer with us. You hear this great insight about the show.
Yeah.
You know, these two masterminds.
Yeah.
You know, and I
That's
think
a
what's
great
nice about
example too, Ben, because they're also really good at, well, they're dead, but they were very good at commentaries. Terrence is hilarious, and Barry Letts very passionate. They make a great team.
The Three Doctors one where they talk about going to the hotel bar and trying to write it is just great.
Yeah. Yeah,
you love those kinds of stories.
Yeah, you get those stories. And again, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, Ben, with new, even prestige movies, whether it's, Barbie or Oppenheimer, new release films, it's the extras package that exists on a new release film on disc is pretty cursory at best, a little electronic press kit. Maybe you get a few interview blips. Sometimes you get a commentary, certainly not always. And again, for us to have this wealth of new features being created for these collection sets on top of the legacy features, like you were just saying, Ben, with the Terrence Dicks and the Barry Letts and all these people who are no longer with us. Like, I'm so glad that they although they've been gone for quite a while in some cases, they lived long enough into the DVD era, and again, even then Doctor Who fans were tenacious with how the effort they put into these releases. So they made sure to get interviews and commentaries and making ofs and all these things with these folks who worked on it 30, 40 years ago in some cases, and now since then are gone, but we have those memories captured for forevermore.
Yeah.
Bill, what do you got there?
I also like how Blu-ray seems like it'll be a long-lasting format.
Yeah. Yep. As a format, it is more durable than DVD for sure in terms of the physical discs.
Like you see a lot of, like I see pictures of DVD rot a lot, not of Doctor Who discs specifically.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
So this is, you guys that aren't getting the UK releases, you're missing out on these great booklets.
I know.
There's actual stuff in these booklets that's pretty good.
And the
box
discs.
set,
Sorry,
the discs are better. Oh, they're in a better holder or something.
No, it's just you get the design. You get so on the US discs. It's just the picture of the Doctor.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You don't have like individualized disc art like you have on the UK sets. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
This box set I think has a malfunction on it. Mine doesn't. It looks like it's color, but there's no color on it. So I think I might have a bad one. But the other thing is the funny thing to me about it is that we get extras at all, right? Because my understanding of how this Blu-ray stuff was supposed to work for TV shows was they needed somebody to pay for the restoration or the uprising so that we can watch them on streaming. Everything getting pushed to streaming, and the BBC's got a catalog and they're going to push it to streaming. And how are we going to pay for it? We're going to have Ben Ellis pay for it. He's going to buy all these Blu-ray box sets. But
Great.
So
thanks, Ben.
What I guess I don't get about the math of it is that they don't realize that Ben's going to buy them anyways, even if we didn't have all these extra commentaries. So we're just really lucky. We're just the most amazingly lucky fans.
Yeah.
I think one of the great things about physical media is it's always going to be there.
Once you have it,
disc rot, like
once you have it.
Yeah.
Because I suppose you're on BritBox and maybe the 10th planet, I don't know if the planet's on there, but the Three Doctors, it's not on there anymore. And you never know when it's going to come back.
Well, it's gone off BritBox completely.
Okay. Yeah, well, and the streaming rights for Doctor Who in general are
Unearthly Child is in trouble, at least right now. By the time you see this, they might have sorted that out.
That's true, and of course, in the UK, the iPlayer, BBC iPlayer, just exploded in November with streaming versions of everything in the Whoniverse, Doctor Who and all its spin-offs. Here on this side of the pond, we aren't so lucky in terms of, I mean, in some ways we are lucky because there's a streaming deal with Max, formerly HBO Max, so you can see the modern stuff there. Disney Plus is the new home of Doctor Who going forward, from now until who knows when. The classic series, is it still on BritBox, or most of it's
still on Tubi now?
Tubi, that's right. Oh, that's right. That just launched.
Yeah, and I watched it on Tubi. I watched 5 Doctors on Tubi just because I was on for the anniversary.
Yeah.
The quality of it doesn't look like as good as it did on BritBox.
Sure. And it might not be.
So that was kind of a bummer. So again, having it look how you like it to look.
Sure.
Because now I'm spoiled. I don't want to see what it looked like on PBS anymore, right?
Agreed.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think Tubi really knows what they're doing with it, right?
I just don't like commercials in the middle of TV, so I don't watch it.
Who does? Yeah. Who
Yeah.
does? But again,
Well,
I think
that's something that we had with this show when we were kids. You know,
Yeah.
obviously we're all Americans here. We watched all kinds of shows with commercials, but not
Yeah.
Doctor Who for the most
No.
part. There were some commercial
on
stations
PBS.
that would show it, but
Right.
usually it was PBS.
Yeah,
You
that's a
just
really
had
good one.
to sit through a pledge drive every now and again.
Right. Well, and some of us, speaking for myself at least, some of us worked those pledge drives, answering the phones.
Yep.
In Iowa for me, you know, I was
Yeah.
there at several of those pledge drives, and you know, you miss that. You miss the nostalgia of watching it on, like for me, like growing up watching it on Friday nights and then later Saturday nights on Iowa Public Television. And I was sort of spoiled, or all of us in Iowa were spoiled, because certainly when I started watching it, it was omnibus format, so we got a full story every week. And when
Yeah.
it switched to one episode a week on Iowa PBS, I was like sort of shattered. This was like 93 or 94, I think, when they made that switch. And I remember they started over with An Unearthly Child. And the first episode, just the first episode, you know, 25 minutes ended. And I was like, oh, I guess that really is it. We're not getting a full story. But again, that's
Little did you know that was the best ending.
it really is.
Best
Yeah, it
best
really,
place to stop that story.
that's right.
Yeah.
And again, like we have kind of to what you were saying earlier, Ben, like we have these, you know, as the second Doctor once said, like barring accidents, we can live forever on these Blu-ray discs. So, you know, it doesn't matter where they're streaming or if they're streaming. I mean, it's great that they are like, you know, I say like we're maybe not so lucky in North America or in the US, but you know, we kind of are, because I actually forgot about that Tubi launch, and Tubi's free. So you can watch all of it there. But again, to your point, Rob, like Tubi may not have gotten the best restored versions that we get on these Blu-ray releases. So now that we've seen it, as good as it can look, while there might be a little nostalgia in it, like, you know, seeing the tram scratches and things like that, that many of us grew up with on PBS, like, who really wants to do that when you can see it in, as again, it's not true HD in most cases, but going back to what you said, Bill, about the season 19 set, for example, gorgeous. The film still exists for that season. So it was scanned in HD. So when you watch Castrovalva, I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating by saying it's a revelation, but it's really good. It looks really good.
Castrovalva was the one that really blew me away, and that's obviously why
Yeah.
I think it starts out on film, and a big portion of the beginning of episode 1 is on film.
Yep, because
So
they're
it's
all at
just-
the
you're really blown away by it.
Yeah, it looks great. And having just watched the season 20 set and seeing the film for the Five Doctors, that looks great.
Do
So
I
yeah,
have that one?
it's we don't have all of it.
How does Arc of Infinity look on the box set?
Arc of Infinity, let's see. I don't think that
I don't think we have the film for that.
the Amsterdam stuff is not that film doesn't exist anymore. So it looks good and upscaled like most of the rest of the show on Blu-ray does, but they do not have the original film from the Amsterdam stuff. So it's not a revelation like season 19 or Five Doctors is. Bill's gonna look it up in wipes. Well, we got a couple questions that have come through from we have a little audience watching this.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, one through the chat and then one through a message, I think to me and you, Bill. So one is about the numbering, so US versus UK, and Bill, you have examples of both there, because you have one US release and then the rest are UK. You know, in the UK, it's like the one you have there is the complete Peter Davison season 1 or something. And in the UK, it's Doctor Who Collection season 19.
That's how they spell it too, not like it said on Doctor Who magazine.
Right.
That's not how you spell it.
They got his name correct. That's right.
It doesn't look like they have any film from Arc of Infinity.
I don't. Yeah, watching it just recently, it didn't seem like it was like a fresh HD scan or anything.
Yeah, at least they don't mention it. There's a 71 edit on VHS.
Yes, that sounds right. Because I think I watched that, but yeah. So what do we think? Like, is it? It doesn't bother me. I mean, I'm buying the UK releases myself, but what do you all think? Like, do you care that they're named differently? Does it make sense to this market versus the UK to call them Peter Davison season 1 versus season 19?
None of it makes any sense.
I kind of like the UK releases, but you got to take what you're given. You know,
I tend to agree.
Yeah, you don't want all this crap.
You well, and Rob, I think you said it earlier. One of the benefits of these sets in general is the space saving. And that's even more true with the US releases, or if you wait for the UK standard packaging releases, which are a couple years behind. So those are the repackaged UK discs with a slimmed down version of the booklet. It's not the full one, but it is a slimmed down version. And in more slimline packaging that's about the same size as the North American releases. And then of course the North American releases are in that slimline packaging, but to what you said earlier, Ben, the disc art is all the same. So for one set, it's all the same.
Don't stick very well in the packaging.
I've heard that. There's no booklet. There's no digital version of the booklet. The Tom Baker first release.
But funny enough, they do mention the booklet on the back of some of the US releases.
I think probably because some of that just gets carried over from.
There's just nothing in here at all.
Nope.
It's just it's like I made it.
Did you make that though? You might.
I made this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think though, getting back to the episodes, or naming them however they're naming it.
Yeah.
I think that it's a byproduct in America with the new series that people were very much, oh, I like the Tennant Doctor, or I like the Matt Smith Doctor, and because they thought they applied, new Who marketing to classic Who, right? And they're like, well, people are going to just want to watch Tom Baker, so we'll just call it Tom Baker season 1, 2. So I kind of get it that they're kind of dumbing down to the person that may be discovering the series.
Yeah,
but it does kind of annoy.
Yeah,
I mean, again, I'd rather have it than not have it. It's part of what it is.
Yeah.
Because it drives me nuts. Like, oh, I've got John Pertwee season 1, but I don't have season 2.
Right.
It's.
I kind of wonder what a casual fan looks at this box. What they even know? What do they even know what they're looking at? I mean, maybe Peter Davison, but it's like if this said William Hartnell on it.
Well, again,
would people even know what it is?
Yeah.
Again, I think they planned on doing Davison or Baker through, and Tom. I think they planned on doing the Tom Baker ones.
Not Tom.
Yeah, and then they kind of realized, wow, these are all really selling, and it was too late. I think to a certain extent there is a certain amount of surprise that these are doing so well, and it's kind of changing, how TV series are being put out. I think, getting a complete Babylon 5 on DVD, restored and cleaned up as it is partially the result of the enthusiasm shown by people that are getting Doctor Who on Blu-ray, right?
I mean, it certainly could be, and we've got certainly crossover with say Star Trek: Next Generation, which got a gorgeous remaster for all 7 seasons on Blu-ray.
That too could be
incredibly expensive.
Most.
What
most of those seasons don't look so great.
Well, that's maybe to do with
remember they had multiple special effects houses come in, and
exactly
are better than others.
But again, shows that
I do think it there's evidence to support what you're saying there, Rob, that it just turned out way more popular than they expected. I think it's funny that they started with season 12, which is the same thing they did with the series of scripts books. If anybody remember these, they came about 25 years ago. They did season 12. I bought mine, and then they stopped doing them. Well, the fact that they've got this many, I did my part. I don't know what you guys did. But, the fact that I've got this many, obviously we're doing the whole thing, and I'm still amazed.
Knew who Tom Baker was, and that's how they would sell the first set.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I do think there is weirdly something fun in the guessing of what seasons are going to be next.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think that's kind of it's nice that it gives the classic series some kind of relevancy at a time when everyone's watching New Who and spending time tracking down New Who spoilers. It's kind of nice to play the guessing game of like what's coming out that's a missing episode, or what's coming out on Blu-ray. And, we all talk about it, and generally the discourse is not as harsh as it is with other stuff with New Who. So it's kind of nice.
Well, we've always got another one of these the benefits that's it's not, well, it is specific to the Blu-ray in that they're making them for these collection releases, but the trailers that come out that are really mini episodes in and of themselves, to see granted, we saw Tegan come back in Power of the Doctor, but then we also saw her, in her own Blu-ray trailer for season 20, and we saw Maureen O'Brien come back as Vicky for the season 2 trailer. So, we get these bespoke pieces of media created specifically for these Blu-ray releases of the classic show, and that's just super cool. Again,
Are those all on there? Do I have them on
yeah,
here?
the trailer's always
Kind of
on.
like on the last disc of each set.
Usually, yeah, or probably always,
Okay.
because that's usually kind of the extras disc. Although all the discs have extras on them, but that's usually sort of if there's a separate extras disc, it seems to always be the last one. So,
I like with Katie for season 9. I thought that was great.
yeah. There's and again, you've got
Mhm.
continuing storylines because was it the season 10 trailer? It was her as Jo Jones with Cliff Jones as her husband, which follows on from what we saw in The Green Death. And then, sadly, the actor he passed away after that trailer, and that has carried through into like the most recent Tales of the TARDIS that Katie featured in as Jo there. So it's creating or continuing continuity. I mean, we saw that also in the Tales of the TARDIS with Vicky, because when she was there with Steven, she was in her garb, which we saw in the Mythmakers. So of course we knew where she left, but to see the trailer where that sort of reinforces like, yep, she really stayed and she lived a life there. And then Tales of the TARDIS again just sort of continued to reaffirm that. So it's nice to have this.
Are we going to get those Tales of the TARDISes on the discs?
Well, it's a good question because actually another question that had been asked in the chat was, what do we think of how maybe using that Tales of the TARDIS kind of style, could that ever be applied to missing episodes on Blu-ray sets? Would they ever use that as a supplement to animation or reconstructions, or could that fit in? Like, I'd be surprised if
Who asked that question?
Elijah did, and he's since
wow, that's fantastic. I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah,
I would love that if they did like I don't know, Galaxy 4's got an episode that's got a long scene that exists, but the most of it doesn't exist. You could easily picture coming up with a wraparound with actors doing a Tales of TARDIS style thing. Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with it, but I think we could see that a Tales from the TARDIS type thing happening with Marco Polo or maybe the Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
actually they did that. The Recon guys did something like that with the Crusade, didn't they? Did they get William Hartnell in?
William Russell.
These are really old. Yeah, I'm sorry, Russell.
William Russell.
They did not get William Hartnell in, is what you're telling me. Okay, all right.
But that goes back actually to the VHS because when the Crusade came out on VHS,
that's what
we got those wraparounds with. But it was William Russell in character as Ian, so it really kind of it was like a Tales of the TARDIS. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens, and I would be equally unsurprised if all of those Tales of the TARDIS, whether they're on a bespoke Blu-ray set or they end up on the collection sets. I mean, the Tales of the TARDIS that have come out thus far, are all of them are for stories minus one. All of them are for stories that already have collection releases, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't go on a future set, a Wilderness Year set or whatever. So yeah,
any set, just stick them on the end of any.
Honestly,
set.
yeah,
it's fine
because there's already examples of after the season 18 set came out, more footage from Keeper of Traken came to light, and so again, I'd be surprised if that footage didn't make its way to some other set in the future, whether again it's a Wilderness Year set or I just don't think that they would. They being the sort of creators of these sets would hold it back artificially just because they think, oh well, that ship has sailed, so season 18 is already out, so I guess nobody gets to see this.
As long as we keep buying.
That seems a bit excessive just to add the Tales from the TARDIS for season 2 for the Prime Middle. So
yeah, and I just don't think that I just don't see that those types of things, because they enrich the continuity, they tie to what's being released on Blu-ray anyway. I just don't see those things not getting released at some point, but who knows? Let's see. Oh, we have another question here in the chat. As far as how we get these, so do we get them on Amazon? Are there better options?
I have two options. I either get them on Amazon or I get them where Jeff says he got his.
Which is often Amazon. Usually Amazon.
I prefer to use Amazon myself too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty flexible with shopping around for pricing.
Absolutely.
Amazon has been the easiest because you're just boom done.
Yep.
But I will say, Barnes and Noble just put like last week all of them half off.
I was just going to say, like, the beauty of the North American releases is that they're mass market, I guess I'd call it. So you'll find them on barnesandnoble.com in their stores, on Amazon. You'll find them on Target.com. Like, you'll find them on most places that sell, movies and TV shows. So whereas, the UK sets, obviously, finding an online retailer that ships to the US is not as easy as it once was. That kind of all shifted with the pandemic. So Amazon UK is usually the most reliable. I've just recently used Rare Waves for the first time, who specialize in getting non-US releases to the US. So I have had one order with them, and I found them to be pretty reliable as well. Sometimes I'll have a friend get them and send them on to me from the UK. But yeah, typically for me, it's Amazon, just because getting the UK releases, they're typically the most reliable.
Yeah, or Amazon. And the other thing too is if you want to get some of the releases and not have to pay this much with the handling, Amazon Canada.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's true sometimes too. Yeah, I've had some good deals from Amazon Canada as well.
And the thing is too, is I try to look around and find, like, if there's a dealer at a convention that I know is selling them or whatever, just so I can support somebody that's a fellow fan that's sort of in the trenches. I try to do that too. But at the same time, you don't want to have to go bargain hunting for this thing forever. Hey, I got to watch The Leisure Hive with friggin' Blu-ray. I need it now. Right.
Right.
So
truer words were never spoken. I have to watch The Leisure Hive.
Leisure Hive right now.
Where can I get it? Right now. Yeah, that's and again, like,
haven't thought about it in 20 years, but I need it now.
But I need to see it. And that's why,
it's funny too, because we didn't have everything. I mean, obviously we still don't have 97 episodes, but it wasn't that long ago that remember that last VHS set, only 6 people bought that thing, and it was how many stories were left.
Oh, the end.
We've never had everything, I guess is what I'm saying. And now we're closer than ever to having everything, and we're still buying these things.
Right. We sure are.
I look forward to buying the chip that they put in my head of each season.
I'm there, like, injected or
26
whatever.
26 chips.
27 with the Wilderness Years, but yeah, I'm here for it. Like,
Shelka by itself.
Yeah, hey, but that's a good example of something that you assume would show up on a Wilderness Years set. Scream of the Shalka, and Lord knows what else could, the TV movie and whatever. There's lots of things that could show up on a Wilderness.
Dimensions in Time.
Ooh, fingers crossed. Curse of Fatal Death. All these things that in most cases maybe haven't gotten an official release. So Curse of Fatal Death did on VHS. So yeah. So
Search out Science. That could come out. That's the last time Sylvester played the Doctor on TV.
That's true, and that was on the DVDs and was not on the season 26 set. So that's, again, another, I think, pretty strong clue that points to there'll be some kind of 27th set that has that kind of content on it. Plus the things like the Keeper of Track and footage that we mentioned earlier, because it missed its window.
I want to give kudos to the BBC about doing one thing, because on Colin's first season is 22, correct? Or 21?
Well, he's at the end of 21.
Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, he's at the end of 21 with Twin Dilemma, but his first full season was 22, and then 23 was Trial of a Time Lord.
So never ask a nerd a question, because we've always got a long answer for you.
I think you'll find.
Hell yeah, now. What I think. Okay, so on the Two Doctors Blu-ray, one of the discs, it said Jim will fix it on it, and I was like, "Oh wow!" But I thought they handled it. They ended it very well.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
they did. And
kudos to them.
you'll see that on some of the extras now. There'll be a little bumper at the beginning that'll say something to the effect of, on the UK releases at least, and I assume it's the same on North American. It says, the following presentation has been edited for compliance reasons, or something like that. So Jim will fix it is a good example of that, because you still get the guts and the content of what you want, which is essentially this mini episode featuring the Sixth Doctor and Tegan plus Gareth Jenkins. And then you just sort of fade out at the actual kind of Jim will fix it part. So that's fine. But that's to what you said earlier, Rob, about maybe I might want to keep the DVD of that. If you wanted to preserve that sort of original special feature as it was, you can certainly do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the stuff they haven't put on is kind of minute, and some of it's like, if I don't see it, I'm good, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And until they're all released, I not convinced that the few that haven't come out yet won't still be released at some point on another.
And I think they're going to listen to people that are like, I wanted that extra of Matthew Waterhouse having tea. I want that. Put that on the DVD, right, or whatever, right? Whatever
Tomb
these little
Watch.
minute,
The one I always think of is Tomb Watch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. The ones that are like 2 or 3 minute things that are just
Yeah.
throwaway. It's like
Sure.
I'll live. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I just don't think that unless there's like really strong reasons, maybe rights related or whatever, that would prevent its release, I just can't imagine that they won't be cleared, to put on a Blu-ray set somewhere along the way. So, we have a comment here in the chat. Who wants to see them clear the rights for the Beatles? So referring to the Chase, the Beatles' Top of the Pops appearance that is on the UK release of the season 2 set that Bill just held up. It is not on the Australian release or the North American release because of those rights issues. So
do it a lot better than they did on the DVD to cover it up tonight.
Yeah, I heard it was. I haven't seen it myself, but I heard that it was. It works okay, and that's Ruben's comment here is that it works fine. Without it. Although for some Beatles lovers, they may disagree with that. I don't know, Bill. How you feel about that? But you obviously you get the UK release, so it doesn't impact you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to go.
I'm a purist.
It's funny because
yeah, right. I'm a purist, and that should be the name of this panel. I'm a purist, and I want it. I love
God
it.
damn it! I'm a purist.
Do you want that? Do you want a version of Rose that has the sound bleeding in from the what's that show where the sound was bleeding in when they did the episode Rose? Oh,
wasn't Graham Norton, was it? That was a different episode.
Graham Norton show.
Was it Graham Norton?
Yeah.
I don't need
if it was transmitted on the day, I want it.
I don't need that myself, but for other fans.
What about that Eeny, meeny, miny, mo on Celestial Toy Maker? Do we have any thoughts on that? We're just going to let that one go?
There's no way I can think of that slur will be included on the animated release. But I'm sure that they'll be. It wasn't on the audio soundtrack release of it. So I don't.
But they had a narrator that talked over it. So
exactly.
While I agree it wasn't there, it was also not noticeable that it wasn't there. So I'm kind of curious what they're going to do. I'm getting a little off topic.
Well, we'll find out here, there's not a release date for that yet, but it has been announced. So sometime in the near future, we'll find out. But yeah, I'm certain that will be.
They'll get Neil Patrick Harris in to say the word tiger and just paste it in.
Or what was his line? Well, that's all right then from the giggle.
There you go.
Something like that. Anyway, well, I think we're about at time here because we've been going for about an hour. So as we wrap, any final thoughts from any of you about just Doctor Who on Blu-ray? Bill, anything from you?
I love it. I'm so glad I bought the UK box sets. I hope they do them all.
Concise and well stated. Rob, how about for you?
Man, it's so great to fall in love with. Not that I ever stopped falling in love with it, but it's so great to fall in love with the classic series again, because there's some of these on Blu-ray that was just stuff I never would watch on the regular DVD.
Sure.
It's just kind of a weird thing, but it's nice to kind of some of the stuff that you're like, you go back and you like again.
Yep.
And I like the context of the full seasons, just the extras. I mean, if you're folding your arms in frustration, you're like, I'm not buying this stuff twice. The extras are great. The sound alone is well worth it. So there you go.
Agreed. Ben, how about
They've
for you?
even gone back and redone commentaries. I noticed that.
Yeah,
I always forget that until I look at the box that they've got additional commentaries too.
That's true.
I'm happy that this is available. I'm happy that I don't need to go to a comic convention and buy a VHS tape of this stuff. I look forward to the future of Doctor Who on Blu-ray and home media.
Yep, same. Totally agree. Long may it continue. I'll buy them all. Blu-ray, 4K, new Who, classic Who, animated Who. I'm gonna buy them all. So,
what was the thing you were supposed to say? Do you have that little speech? You're supposed to say console room, 10 years, something. Do you have it?
Go for it. I mean, you're basically saying it, so go for it.
I don't even know it. Thanks for coming to console room. 10 years of console room.
Well, yeah, it's console room 20 because the 10-year one was this one that they had this year. But this has been one of several digital online panels for Console Room 2024. Be sure to check out everything else that's happening in person if you're going to be there in the Twin Cities. I know I'll be there. Bill will be there. Ben, I think you'll be there. Rob, I don't know if you're coming to the Twin Cities, but
It's February and it's cold, so I don't know.
it is cold here. So, but it's been a mild winter thus far. So, knock on wood. But there's lots of stuff happening with other virtual panels. There's lots of stuff happening on Discord. So be sure to check all that out. And in the meantime, yeah, hopefully we'll catch you on another panel. I know some of us are recording another one tomorrow. Some other ones have already been recorded. So yeah, look forward to checking those out, and we'll talk to you all somewhere in time and space. That seems suitably Doctor Who-ish. So thank you everybody for joining us.